You're listening to a Frequency Podcast Network production.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Welcome to Monday. My name is Brock.
I'm Dalby.
Over the weekend, I went out to Listowel to go hang out with my mom and my sister, and my sister's boyfriend came out, and dude's like a pro golfer, or I guess, a pro golfer. He plays on like the PGA Canada Tour.
I mean, it's not the PGA, but it's still
He's a
counts.
golf pro, I guess you could say.
He is paid to play the game of golf.
Holy shit, man. Like, I played golf with some people who I thought were good.
Sure.
This guy is insane.
Dude, I don't I don't want to take anything away from people who are skilled at the things that they do, but I never want to play a game with someone who gets paid to do that thing.
Dude, he was half-assing it, too.
Of course.
Like, you could tell he wasn't leaning into his drives or anything like that, and there was a couple times with his putts, you could tell he wasn't lining anything up, but he would still... He never bogeyed a single hole.
Of course not.
He didn't bogey, it was insane playing with this guy. He gave me some tips and stuff.
Nice.
Which was nice, helped me actually figure out my drive a little bit better. But I had this funny moment where it's like, my mom and my sister, they can't play golf for squat.
Sure.
So they're just playing a game of whack fuck, like, all day, right? And then, like, I'm standing there with him, and we're kind of, like, talking a little bit of shit. And then I had, like, this moment as I got back into my cart, and I'm like, wait, I suck too. I was like, he's just doing that for me.
Right. It's like a tiramisu. There's layers to this shit.
Yeah.
They're really bad. You're just bad. So by comparison, you skew closer to him.
He shot like a 62. I shot a 108.
Also, do you think, because I know you're a very competitive person. Your sister would only know that better than I would, having grown up with you. Do you think on the drive over she told him to go easy on you?
To be honest, the first few holes, I was kind of like, because there's nothing I hate more than when you're playing sports and someone's trying to, like, give you advice.
Yeah.
And he was like, I think he could kind of, like, see that. And I'm not the best golfer, right? Like I said, I shot a 108. But it's like, my sister started coming over to me because there was one hole, like, every time I play a game of golf, I have one hole where I have, like, a little bit of a meltdown.
Yeah.
And she's like, why don't you just let him help you out? Like, this is what he does for a living. And I was like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then, like, finally it was like, we were on the second last hole, and I was like, hey, man, so, wait, Christy was saying that you wanted to say something to me, and he's like, yeah, man, if you just do this with your hands. And he actually came up and he put his hands on my shoulders and stuff, and I was just like, all
welcome
right.
to the family.
Yeah. Like, I afterwards, I was like, to my sister, I was like, don't fuck this up, all right? I was like, this is how I get good at golf.
You're one of those guys that's like, you don't know me, I don't need you, I got this, and then you realize, like, you have this really rare opportunity. He's not Tiger Woods or whatever, but he is someone who plays this game so well that he gets paid for it, and he's offering you advice, and your brain just goes, shut the fuck up, nerd, let him talk.
Yeah. She better not ruin that relationship, honestly, because this relationship means more to me than I think means to her.
You're keeping him in the divorce?
Yeah.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Did you see the Babe Ruth point to the outfield, called shot, home run jersey sold at an auction a couple weeks ago?
How much did it go for?
$24.1 million.
Oh, God.
$24 million for a dirty old shirt.
That's an insane amount of money. Like, I mean, I get it. It's one of the most historic moments in baseball history, but
absolutely iconic piece of history, but like, now what do you do with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I pay $24 million, US, mind you, for a shirt, you have to wear it at least once, right? Like,
I'm just assuming whoever bought it is just rich enough not to give a 3825 about anything, you know?
just doesn't
That's
care,
just like
right?
pocket change for them, I'd assume. Like, no one was saving that up or something.
Like, did you put it on a mannequin in your living room or something like that? People come over and be like, oh, that's Babe.
Yeah, you better put that in a glass box. I mean, if that jersey's been around as long as it has, if a one moth gets to that thing, it's done.
Right?
Yeah.
It would be crazy to have that kind of money, to have $24 million to spend on sports memorabilia, because at that point, you can literally buy anything.
I don't know. With all the sports memorabilia I have, though, I kind of like the random stuff. Like, I've always thought, like, it'd be cool to have, like, the ball that Randy Johnson threw when it hit the Seagull.
Yeah.
I think, like, stuff like that is cooler than, like, these huge moments in baseball. Like, I think the funnier stuff is actually the better memorabilia.
Have the ball up on a tee with, like, a couple feathers at the bottom of the
I want to know, like, does it have a blood mark on it or something?
I would have to assume that there's some sort of scarring on the ball from when it went through a bird.
Zinedine, what's that French soccer player? Zinedine Zidane?
Zinedine Zidane, yeah.
Like when he headbutted that guy. I want that jersey that he was wearing when he headbutted that Italian dude at the World Cup.
No, I want the Italian dude's jersey that has, like, his head scuff mark on it.
Yeah.
Or, like, you could get Mike Tyson's mouth guard from the Holyfield fight.
Did he have a mouth guard?
Well, I assume it's still in pristine condition as he got around it and into Holyfield's ear.
Yeah, you could do a bunch of cool stuff with that. I mean, obviously, Tom Brady deflated balls.
Oh.
Right? I'm sure there's people that probably try and get him to sign, like, their own, but, like, the game-used ones from that game, those gotta be somewhere. They always, like, every professional sports league marks them off. I mean, I know the Hockey Hall of Fame has a plethora of sticks and whatnot.
Game pucks. And the NFL's good for that, too. Like, the NFL, they do a great job, from what I understand, of, like, cataloging game-used stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't catalog knowing these were deflated balls, but now with the pleasure of hindsight, we can look back and be like, that's a cheater ball.
Do you remember that guy? I feel like it was the Dallas Stars. Yeah, it was the Dallas Stars against the Oilers. That guy that's coming in on the empty net. And he
he missed the net?
I forget his name, and he just, like, slips at the last second.
Oh, my God.
I wonder if the Hockey Hall of Fame has that stick, because that would be hilarious to have in your house.
That puck. You know what the Hockey Hall of Fame should have? That weird striped button-up shirt Gretzky was wearing when he was, like, crying. I promised Mess I wouldn't do this.
Oh, my God.
I would put that up on display.
It's one of the ugliest shirts of all. I hope Wayne Gretzky doesn't even have that.
That's the thing, man. This guy was the best player in hockey. He had millions of dollars. He was being traded to LA. You would expect some kind of fashion. And he shows up in that shirt. I want that on display.
I wonder if there's, like, a teardrop mark on it somewhere.
Stains in the collar.
You can smell his tears.
It's like when you've got kids, the sleeves have, like, snot on.
I was going to say, I want the tissue he used that day. Put that in the little box.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Friend of the show, Marty, brought up a good point. Said, do you think they've ever preserved the bat head that Ozzy bit off?
Dude, I have to assume that was probably disposed of immediately after, but I do love the idea that someone from, like, the arena crew or whatever was like, this is a moment. And, like, rushed it home in an ice-filled cooler.
Well, even Ozzy used to do that stuff where he'd pass around a bucket and get people to spit in it and stuff like that. Like, someone has to have one of those buckets somewhere, right?
Yeah. It's safe to assume not every one of those buckets was, as it should have been, taken out back and incinerated. Yeah. So those buckets are somewhere.
I feel like that's something you could see on American Pickers, where they go to, like, some old guy's house and be like, from the Ozzy show, 1977.
What's that show, Storage Wars, where they bid on the storage locker and open it up one day and there's a bunch of spit buckets?
Just a bunch of dirty loogies in there.
Dead bats. Someone also said, what do you think ever happened to the toilet that Elvis died on?
Ooh, I wouldn't be surprised if someone actually has that.
Probably preserved somewhere.
This is at a hotel, I think, is where it happened. So someone, I wonder if the hotel that it happened at did, like, the presidential suite kind of thing.
Right, yeah. You pay extra to get the room Elvis died in.
Yeah.
And people would pay. That's the thing, is by the time Elvis passed away,
people paid to just go to his house.
He was ultra famous. So almost every item in that room, in that dwelling, could have reasonably been sold off as memorabilia.
Yeah.
You know, if you got a little bit of a dark
People
mind.
probably take poses, like, on the toilet and stuff, yeah.
Someone mentioned for wrestling memorabilia, imagine having one of Razor Ramon's toothpicks that he would, like, flick at people in the crowd. I think the only hard part would be verifying that it's his toothpick and not just a toothpick.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not like they're signed.
I think I'd want one of the batons that they used to beat Jim Morrison with the door with, like, whenever the cops... You know, there's so many other shows that ended with the cops kind of, like, getting mad at them or whatnot. And, you know, he got beat down. Like, that would be kind of cool.
Oh, I want Eddie Van Halen's tank. You remember his Did you remember the story where he showed up? He was trying to have a meeting with Fred Durst about doing a collaboration.
I've never heard this before.
He got really upset. It was not going well. He left. He left things behind because he was in such a hurry to just get out of there. He called Fred's people. It's tried to call Fred to be like, hey, I left my whatever it was. I want it back. Nobody got back to him within 24 hours, so he drove over to Fred Durst's house in a tank. And was like, give me my stuff.
Is that legit?
That's 100% legit.
What? I mean, speaking of that, if you could just get one of Fred Durst's hats, I guess, as well, it'd be kind of sick.
Specifically, I would want the Woodstock one. I think that's the one that's got
one
the
of
most...
the pieces of plywood that he was on or something.
Yeah. These are things that need to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Anything that burned down at Woodstock, honestly.
100%.
Anything that was on fire at Woodstock.
Ooh, Jimi Hendrix burnt guitars.
Oh, yeah.
Give me one of those, like even if it's just the ashes.
Did I ever show you when I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland? Let me see if I can find it here. They were like auctioning off the time I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Jimi Hendrix did a bunch of artwork, I guess, when he was on the tour bus. He would do these drawings, specifically of college football players.
Oh, really?
Here, let me turn my screen here. Look at this. It looks literally like a child's drawing.
It really does.
It looks like something your kid would draw, and they were auctioning these off for thousands of dollars, and apparently he was just big on doing little sketches and stuff in the back, but you would, if I gave this to you, you would never know that it's an original Hendrix.
I'd put this on the fridge. If my 10-year-old drew these, I'd put them on the fridge.
Oh, it's a gold star for sure.
This looks like literally, I guess this is Berkeley. This looks like an Edmonton Elks player. This looks like Jimi Hendrix was a big CFL guy.
Yeah. I don't know why anyone would buy these. I mean, just for the sole basis that it's Hendrix, but it's like, I could tell you that your kids did this at school today, and you'd probably believe me.
100%. That's the thing. I'd put this unframed on my fridge with like a beer magnet, and then other people would pay thousands of dollars to have it framed in their homes.
Yeah, you could literally take your kid's artwork and tell them it's a Banksy, and someone would believe you.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
America, yeah, coming again to save the motherfucking day, yeah, America, yeah.
I may have found the most American beverage of all time. I went to Limestone Exotic Sodas and Snacks there. And they've got all those like stuff that come in from the States all the time.
Yeah. Where you get the stuff that makes the trip across the border.
I tried myself a Mountain Dew Freedom Fusion yesterday.
Freedom Fusion?
I guess it's one of like the Mountain Dews that they put out for 4th of July or whatever.
Oh, didn't we find one year that was like red, white, and dew?
It's like Mountain Dew Liberty, yeah. This one is Freedom Fusion, and I don't know what you think Freedom tastes like, but apparently it's a mix of lemonade and peach. I don't know about you, but that's not what I thought Freedom tasted like.
No, I think if you'd have given me a dozen guesses at the taste of Freedom, it would have taken me a while to get down that far.
I would have just assumed that Freedom tastes like a bald eagle. I don't know what that tastes like. It's probably highly illegal, but I mean, that's they use the eagle for everything. That's what I would assume Freedom tastes like.
I just assume it tastes like chicken. All birds taste like chicken, basically.
Yeah. It's a good question. What does Freedom taste like to you?
Oh, Freedom tastes like the third plate at a buffet.
Yeah?
I shouldn't do this, but I'm allowed to, and that's freedom.
I'm trying to think of like a concoction of more like America-like things. Like a mix of like gunpowder, maybe some cigarettes, gas station hot dogs, and honestly, Mountain Dew actually is very America.
You got to pronounce it cigarettes if it's going to be the taste of freedom. Deep fried mayonnaise.
Deep fried mayonnaise.
That's the taste of freedom.
What about just deep fried Mountain Dew?
Deep fried Mountain Dew? I don't know how you do it, but I'm down to try it.
That literally is freedom.
That's 100%
That's freedom right there. Yeah. Can you do the freedom?
You somehow take Mountain Dew, reduce it down to a powder that you dust on freshly fried freedom fries.
Yeah.
Not French fries. Freedom fries.
That's the gunpowder sprinkled on top of it. That's what that is. That's America if it was a taste right there.
Wash it down with a $14 beer at a baseball game.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
We figured out what America tastes like, and now we're trying to figure out if Canada was a flavor.
Right.
What would it taste like? Obviously, we got some text in here. Maple syrup, anything sort of maple flavored.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy, guys. Listen, we're deeper than that as a country. We are millions of people in a melting pot. We can get further than just maple flavors.
The big ones is maple flavored. Tim's coffee. A lot of people saying weed should be in there because of legalization. It's just one big edible.
Just Canada tastes like a really sick gummy.
If you had to go ketchup chips or all dressed chips, what would you say is the bigger taste of Canada?
You know what? I think you go all dressed because ketchup is just one flavor, but all dressed, like this great nation of ours, takes the best of everything and brings it all together.
You know what? You actually just said it best there. I think our flavor, because, I mean, we've talked about it before that Canada really doesn't have true cuisines. I mean, there's poutine.
Yeah.
Poutine, I apologize.
Thank you.
But, I mean, we're a big melting pot, right? So, if anything, it would be that mix of, like, maple, maybe some Tim Hortons in there. But then it would be, like, some Asian cuisine.
Yeah.
Like, all the world cuisines that we have of people that come and migrate here to Canada.
All of those flavors put together with a little bit of a gravy and then poured out onto a snow cone.
Yeah.
And that's what Canada is.
You know what it is? Yeah, exactly like you said. You take everything, put the cheese curds and the gravy, we make one giant poutine.
Just a massive, multicultural poutine. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Something that's going to make you need to take a Gaviscon after you eat it.
After you've got the poutine all laid out, then you sprinkle it with a little Kraft Dinner cheese seasoning to really bring it home. Really bring that Canadian essence.
There you go. And you wrap it all in bannock.
Yeah, yes.
That's the move. That's the move.
No, you wrap it in pea meal bacon. You dip bannock into it.
Ooh, yeah.
Or just put it on bannock to make it a sandwich.
I don't think there's one flavor you could label out Canada as. I mean, just because we're so multicultural and diverse, I feel like Canada's flavor is kind of like, do you ever go to the fountain drink thing and do the swamp water kind of thing?
Brother? Last week.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what Canada tastes like.
Canada is swamp water, and if you think that's a bad thing, then you're wrong.
To some people, it might be bad, but man, do I love this country. I love this swamp water of a nation.
This is the Brock and Dalby Podcast.
You know those BuzzFeed quizzes that are so much fun? Yeah, that's not what this is. It's the quiz with Brock and Dalby.
All right, it's Monday, which means it's time for another edition of the quiz. And today we're doing Days of the Week. So I asked everyone to text in 762-555. What are your favorite songs that have a day of the week in the title? I'll give you the band, Dalby, as always. You just got to give me the song, all right?
I feel okay about this one because it's very limited in the scope of what it can be. It can only be the 7 days of the week. That said, my brain is on empty right now trying to think of songs in advance. Usually I like to try and come up with a couple in case that's the one. So we'll see how this goes.
Let's start with this one here. When I say the Boomtown Rats, you would say?
Is it just I Don't Like Mondays?
That's correct.
Okay.
Terrible song. But
Oh, absolutely. But I dated a girl in college who sang this in karaoke, and it stuck with me ever since.
Oh.
It's really weird, but it worked today.
Giving Dalby flashbacks here. When I say Leonard Skinner, you would say?
Tuesday's Gone.
There you go, 2 for 2 here.
We have officially exhausted the ones I thought of in advance.
When I say The Cure, you would say?
Oh.
Don't know it?
Okay, give me like a half a second.
You stall pretty hard during this thing usually, so.
They don't do Blue Monday. That's somebody else.
No.
I don't think I got this one.
Friday, I'm in love. I thought Loverboy Dalby would have known this one.
I never dated a girl that sang this one.
No. I know you're a true romantic, so I thought you might know this one.
Damn it, that's a gimme I should have had.
It's all good. When I say Elton John, here's so you can bounce back.
Saturday night's all right for fighting.
There you go.
Disappointing you chose Elton John and not the far better Nickelback version.
Nickelback, Kid Rock, and what is it, Dimebag Darrell? All right, okay. 2 more here. You're doing all right, man.
Yeah.
When I say U2, you would say?
Sunday, Bloody Sunday. That should count for 2 points. He says it 2 times.
Now, I realized I couldn't find a Wednesday or a Thursday song.
Okay.
I couldn't figure one out, or at least not a common knowledge one.
Sure, I'm sure there's some obscure song somewhere out there.
But I also just wanted to play this, so when I say Stompin' Tom Connors, you would say...
Sudbury Saturday Night? Hell yeah, bro.
Friggin' rights, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Friggin' rights. 5 for 6 on the quiz, and we got to play a snippet of Stompin' Tom.
That's a win in everybody's book.
I think everybody wins this morning, honestly.
I hope we all have a Sudbury Saturday Night.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
Did you hear the famous Wu-Tang album that was only printed one copy of is back in the news again?
Is that Martin Shkreli guy?
Yeah. So Wu-Tang, the Wu-Tang Clan made an album called Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, but they only had one vinyl pressed of it. They did it as a big thing to go viral. This pharmacy bro named Martin Shkreli bought the album for, I think it was like $2 million or something like that, under the guise that he could never make money off of it until 2103 or something like that. Like it had to be 100 years before he was allowed to profit off of it.
Yeah.
He then committed massive amounts of fraud, had to get rid of like his houses, his estates, all the stuff, including the album had to be auctioned off to raise money for like the money he owed.
I remember a few years ago, he actually went online and played the record, which I think he wasn't supposed to do.
That was against the rules. And so like they were sort of preparing like, hey, like you might be in trouble for that. But then he committed securities fraud, so he didn't have to worry about it. Anyway, turns out he also just made copies of the album to keep for himself. So even after he had to surrender this unique, one-of-a-kind album, he was still like playing for other
burnt
people.
CDs of it or something?
Essentially, yes. Basically, that's what he did. So he's in trouble once again. And I was just reading about all this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, do you think that in like 20, 30 years... people will still look at like rare albums? Will there be any albums from now that are this well sought after that legal action ensues when like my kids are my age?
Probably not. I mean, I think there's always going to be people that are like music aficionados that are like, I mean, like if you have an original Led Zeppelin 2 or something like that, but I don't think there's any like real like albums from right now that are going to mean as much in 20, 30 years. And even like with the whole like Wu-Tang thing, like 100 years in the future, I mean, like I don't think that record would really mean anything.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a big album. It was
right.
The whole thing is supposed to be released in the future, so it doesn't even, I don't know, it doesn't even have that appeal.
Yeah, and like you said, like Led Zeppelin 2, like yeah, if 20, 30 years from now you still had like a pristine copy of that, but there's just this weird disconnect that as we've gotten into the world of streaming, like bands still put out albums, but they're more focused on like, we're gonna give you a new song on Spotify every 3 weeks.
I mean, what are we gonna leave behind for our kids in the future? Is it just gonna be your playlist? Is that
right? Like I can remember my dad didn't have a huge vinyl collection, or at least not that I ever got to see, but he had a massive tape collection.
Yeah.
And I got a Walkman, and I was like going through his crates and stuff like that, pulling out tapes. It's the first place that I heard the Nirvana Unplugged show and stuff like that. Like going through that was so cool. And like you said, like for me to leave anything to my kids, it'll be like, here's my family plan subscription to Spotify.
Yeah. It's like Grandpa's workout playlist or Grandma's hot girl summer playlist or something. I mean, honestly, even just maybe it's even just your Netflix account, and they're like, oh, look at what it was on his continue watching.
Right?
Like,
Yeah. Oh, look at he had The Flash on his My List.
I hope radio is still as big of a thing in the future. I mean, presets could be a thing. Like maybe you take Grandpa Dalby's car and you're never going to touch the presets ever again.
Hey, we only listen to 6 radio channels in this car, all right? And sometimes you got to drive out of town to get them.
We exclusively listen to CBC radio in this car.
The Brock and Dalby Podcast.
It's time for Brock and Dalby's Draft.
All right, today we are doing the bad draft of the worst cover songs of all time. If you missed it, earlier this morning we played Motley Crue covering the Beastie Boys' Fight for Your Right to Party.
You gotta fight for your right.
We got about like a minute 45, minute 50 in, and all the texts were like, please turn this off.
Yeah, like there's some cool like riffs and stuff in the background, but man, just the main focus of the song just sucks.
Friend of the show, Bobby, said we should do a bad draft of the worst cover songs of all time, so we're going to get to it. You got the first pick. What are you going with your big guy?
I'm going to go ahead and guess that this was on both of our lists because it is just in the Hall of Fame of garbage. But it's gotta be the Nirvana cover from Puddle of Muds about a girl.
I can see you every night.
That was my number one pick as well. I would have had it too.
One more time. If you've never listened to it in its entirety, it is almost so bad that it's good.
Oh my! Well, it's tough because it's like you can see everyone else is jamming and they're trying to pretend like they're having fun, but they know it's going bad.
That's the hands down number one pick.
My number one pick, then that would have been mine. That's the best pick, honestly. I'm going to go with. Have you ever heard of Shakira's rendition of "Back in Black" before?
Oh my God, I forgot about that
It is
one.
brutal. She's such a good singer.
Yeah.
But it just it doesn't work. Like,
it's like when you're in the car and you don't know the words to a song, so you just start making noises.
it sounds like Pengu singing. That's what it sounds like. Let's start it again. That's Pengu's version of Back in Black. What do you got for your second pick?
For number two, man, American Pie is just Don McLean. It's one of the most iconic songs of all time. It's one of the greatest pieces of storytelling in the history of music. And then Madonna did it.
Oh, that sucks. I've never heard this before. This is brutal.
Dude, it is a 4-minute pop music unnecessary.
It's supposed to be like a dance version or something?
It is. It's a club version. It's the music video's got her just like super awkward mom dancing on the one side while they just show random people of America, I guess, on the other half of the screen. And it is just soulless. Like, you take something that was written with so much feeling and emotion and story, and you're just like, and now here's the Walmart version of it.
With my number two pick, I think Jiminy Cricket was a part of a lot of our childhoods, right? When You Wish Upon a Star, a classic Disney song.
Yep.
You ever heard the Gene Simmons version of that song?
Yep.
Why does it sound so much creepier?
Makes no difference who you are.
Because you can see his face, that's why.
If you actually go on YouTube, the official Gene Simmons page has turned off the comments.
Of course.
On the YouTube page because it gets ripped on so hard.
They should have turned off the video.
I just picture Gene Simmons creepily trying to serenade a woman to this song as he's waving his tongue. When you wish.
Can I give a quick honorable mention to a Gene Simmons cover I also found? Have you ever heard this?
Pain you tasted, feel intoxicated.
Is it the fire starter?
Yeah.
It sounds better than what I played.
Fire starter, twisted fire starter.
If Kiss did The Prodigy, it's
Oh,
amazing. For my third and final pick of the draft, though, this is a song, I don't know if this is going to win me the draft, but this is the worst cover song I've ever heard. This one scarred me emotionally when I heard it. It's Weezer's Enter Sandman.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty bad. I forgot they did that.
Right. They did such a bad job. Again, you have this song that's just all balls, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then you have Rivers come in, and it's like, exit lane.
Oh, that was around the time when they covered like Africa and stuff as well, too.
It was a toss-up for me, but I liked Enter Sandman more than I liked Africa, so I chose this for being worse.
Coming in at number 3 here for the worst cover songs of all time, I'm going to go with Britney Spears covering the Rolling Stones. And this was actually on like her second record, I believe. And it's kind of like the Madonna one where they tried to make it like a pop song.
Yeah.
I remember she covered Oh, what was the other song that she called? She covered another song in the album that wasn't like that bad, but this is just absolutely brutal.
That's the thing, is just like, these were songs written by poets, and then you just strip them down to their most commercial parts.
Yeah.
And it's like, this sounds like it should be a Kodak ad.
The only person I want to see wearing a crop top singing that song is Mick Jagger.
Absolutely. He would wear it better.
All right, run through your picks one more time.
I had at number 1, Puddle of Mud's
That's
Nirvana
the best
cover.
pick you could get.
About a girl. At number 2, the Walmart version of American Pie by Madonna, and Weezer's Enter Sandman from Metallica at number 3.
Number 1, I'm going with Shakira or Pangu covering Back in Black. Number 2, I'm going with Gene Simmons, Wish Upon a Star. And number 3, I got Britney Spears covering Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones.
Can we both agree that regardless of who wins, and 762-555, we want you to text in and tell us who wins, because this means a lot to us for no particular reason. But can we agree that no matter who wins, we've both committed crimes today by putting these songs in people's heads?
I mean, we committed a crime by playing that Motley Crue song about an hour ago regardless, so I apologize for that.
This is the Brock and Delby Podcast.
Ed's word of the day.
Let's see what he's got.
Good morning. Today's word, pterodactyl. I think pterodactyl. T-A-R-A-D-I-D-L-E. Pterodactyl. And it's nonsense or a lie. So basically BS, I guess. Anyway, that's about it. Have a great one. Cheers, you're up.
All right, I want to hear the pronunciation of this.
Taradiddle.
Okay, taradiddle, not pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl would have been a sick word of the day.
So it's just lying, basically?
Yeah, well, it's not even just a lie, but like a really petty lie. Like a lie you would tell for no reason.
Okay, because I was going to say, I'm going to start referring to my favorite Jim Carrey movie is Taradiddle, Taradiddle.
Taradiddle, Taradiddle. Or the television show Pretty Little Taradiddles.
I like using it like that, actually. That's great. What's that song? Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
It's a lot harder
Tell me taradiddles.
It's really hard to fit it into the rhythm of the song, but if you can do it, yeah that's going to be great.
If you catch someone fibbing to you at work today, just call them a taradiddle. Yeah.
If you don't stop taradiddling right to my face, that sounds bad.
You guys are taradiddlers. I don't know if you can use that, actually.
I don't think any word that ends in diddle can be used to describe just normal people without causing a fight.
You know, there's one thing in life I hate, and it's taradiddlers, all right?
Taradiddlers.
Taradiddle, taradiddle, taradiddle. Use it wherever you can. Just don't be one, all right?
For more Brock and Delby, tune in weekday mornings 5:30 to 9.
The Brock and Delby podcast is brought to you by badshop.ca, the Brock and Delby merch store. With all proceeds going to the Canadian Cancer Society.